Hey guys, welcome to another episode of KLF Deep Dive. I'm here with Emily Hu. Big topic we're going to tackle is the experience and her personal experience in working with small tech startups, health tech startups, and large health tech companies. Emily, tell us a little bit about yourself before we move into some questions.
Sure. So my name is Emily Hu. By education, I am a chemical engineer, undergrad, biomedical engineer, master's. I'm a Silicon Valley native, so I've worked in many medical device startups in Silicon Valley and at big companies. So my experience is mostly in medical device with some wellness, some CPG, some health tech. And I started off as I'd say an operator in the startup ecosystem or just the health tech, not just startups. I've been an operator. And then as I got older, I was an advisor. And now I'm those and I'm an investor in this space. So I've seen a lot of trends at small startups and at big companies. I was also a professional weightlifter. So um, I've I've met with a lot of wearable device companies as also a beta tester. And I worked at Google when they were making wearable devices. I was a clinical research lead, and I got them their first FDA clearance on a medical device. So I've seen the industry change a lot.
If I am if I have an idea for a potential wearable, do I want to start with incubating it inside a incubator? Do I want to go with a small tech company that I'm going to grow on my own that's unaffiliated with an incubator, or go work for one of the larger health tech companies and try to grow underneath the umbrella so that this concept sees the light of day? So walk me through what that thought process looks like. How do you make a choice?
Well, I think people don't realize how difficult it is to make a medical device, right? Incremental technology is easy. You need like one or two really smart people. But a medical device and a medical device company is so many experts, right? Because if you're having a medical device company, you need a quality person, you need a regulatory person, and these people cannot be beginners. You need like an expert of quality, you need an expert of regulatory, you probably want an expert of clinical, you need an expert of manufacturing. And, it gets very expensive. And then also, if you're a technologist and this is your first time thinking of something and making something, you don't know what you don't know, right? I've met with many founders that said, I'm ready to submit to the FDA. And I've said, okay, let me see your QMS. And they said, what's a QMS? So, I think maybe just 1 year of experience at a big company could teach you so much that you could see what teams are needed, what experts are needed, and you could gauge your ability to execute accordingly.
So what you're saying is you really need to cut your teeth at big tech before you're ready to go down the small sort of startup world, if you will. Is that a fair sort of?
I think it helps. It helps in certain industries. If you're
Okay.
working in a very heavily regulated industry
Mhm.
like biotech, medtech,
Mhm.
financial services, safety transport,
Yeah.
you definitely should have some kind of like big company experience, just so this isn't like software. We can't move fast and break things because the things we break are people.
Yeah. For me, I I think about what that West Coast vibe is, and it's always that guy working in his garage that's going to invent the next big Google or Apple or whatever it is that's going to happen. What you're really doing is crushing your dream there right now, Emily. You're going, you know what? No, no, no. You can't start working in the garage. Go first work in a big company, then go work in your garage. Is that fair
Yes, you
or?
can ask any like 20-year-old I've met that I'm like the biggest, meanest dream crusher on the planet. But I try to be nice about it.
Sure.
But it's the days of like building Apple in a garage, I'm not gonna say those days are long past, but it's different now and it's much harder in this particular industry. I don't think Thomas Fogarty invented the stent in his mom's garage. I think he had a lot of money and a giant team and he was pretty old at the time.
So speaking of old, who are the key guideposts? So you talk about the operational leaders, but talk to me a little bit about the strategic leaders you need to get your idea farther along.
Yeah. So I think we're going to start by saying incremental innovation is not a business. It's not enough. right? So let's say I was going to make like the next latest and greatest wearable. It's going to measure something, some biomarker that's so cool. It's going to be like the next thing. Well, your regulations depend on how the product's supposed to be used, intended use, and the claims you make, right? So maybe the first thing you should do is figure out what claims can I make, what claims should I make, and then what legal, I don't want to say turmoil, but what are the legal guardrails around that? So maybe meet with a regulatory person, maybe meet with a healthcare economics person, because maybe you can get something approved for one claim, but is anyone going to buy it for that? Right. So think about the economics of your situation, the clinical viability. So talk to a doctor in that space. Think about the regulation. So talk to a regulatory person and then talk to a lawyer too.
What there are a bunch of lawyers, not many like me, but there are a bunch of lawyers. Some are intellectual property lawyers saying, you know what, you need to protect all this stuff.
Yeah.
Some are corporate lawyers. You know what, you're
Yes.
going to merge with Aura in the future. You're going to merge with Whoop in the future. Let's get your documents ready. Some are regulatory lawyers. Some are privacy lawyers. You're a health tech company. You're small. Maybe you're not working in the garage, but you don't have an unlimited amount of funds. Where do you start?
I mean, I think personally, a regulatory consultant, not necessarily a lawyer. And then at some point, I mean, realistically, this is going to be a lot of money. I think you should meet with an IP lawyer once, see if your product is patentable. Meet with a regulatory lawyer once, see if anything you're saying puts you in a regulatory hotspot. Privacy lawyer once, depending on what type of data you collect, right? Because a lot of modern day software as a medical device is software based and you're collecting data. Maybe you're pulling EMR records. Just make sure you're not going to do anything that causes a data breach and gets everyone sued.
Find related podcasts below.
How do you guide these companies in terms of sometimes they're all about, you know what, I want to get the broadest uh, client base. Sometimes they're like, I will take the narrow one. Or is that more of is that a different strategy leader, like an operational person who's guiding them in terms of what that next step should look like? Who should they be aiming for? Is that sales? Is that marketing? Is that regulatory? What do you think?
Well, in this case, I think this is why so many accelerators and incubators are so popular in this space. Because if you were just making an app, you probably wouldn't need an accelerator, right? You can just make an app, maybe get a go-to market expert and hire that person. But if you're making something this complicated, you probably need many, many people giving you advice and you can't afford all of them.
Right.
So, like I think YC Health is really popular. There's Techstars. There's just a lot of incubators in this space for digital health. And I see why. And I think a lot of first-time founders who are quite young, straight out of school, maybe don't have great connections, they probably should do these programs.
So now the big thing with AI is vibe coding. What is your take on when someone says, why don't I just use AI?
I mean, that's probably okay up to a certain extent, right?
Okay.
But if your entire product is the AI, your software as a medical device, um, will the vibe coded code be robust enough to pass all the FDA requirements? I don't know. Maybe you should check with somebody about that first before you commit to vibe coding. I
But
could be wrong. I would be very, very leery of that.
have you had a client try that with you yet?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many youngsters I know who are like, I have an AI wrapper that's going to, I'm being facetious, but they're like,
Yeah.
it's going to cure cancer by reading your Slack messages and your
Right.
emails. So a lot of the rules we have regarding AI or software as a medical device AI is new within the last 2 years. So even
Yeah.
the experts aren't experts, but they know more than we do. So let's hire them.
What should a founder who has a great idea,
Hmm.
or at least he thinks he has a great idea, or she thinks she has a great idea, how should they vet that to know which elements they can do on their own versus which elements need to be outsourced versus which elements just need excuse my language, but a vibe check?
Oh man, that's hard. I think it depends so much on the product, right? If we're talking about digital health, I'm sure coding is probably the easy part, but then there is like the security and the HIPAA and the regulatory compliance part. I would say for that, find a consultant who's helped a company that's very similar to yours before and see what gaps they find in your plan. And maybe you'll disagree with them. Maybe you could hire another consultant or talk to another founder who's succeeded making a similar product and ask them like, who were your first 5 key hires? What mistakes did you make? What do you wish you knew? Who do you wish you hired first? Or who do you wish you hired instead of someone else?
My question to you is, how do you help these kids, for lack of a better term, because I've yet to see like a 55-year-old go, I'm going to vibe code this, but I'm sure it happens. But these kids, how do you help them go, okay, let's start at the very beginning, because it's a very good place to start.
Yeah.
But this is where we start. This is the structure you organize yourself in. This is how you get funding. This is like, do you help with that overall structure? Are you focused more on the regulatory
It
element?
depends. So sometimes I help with infra. If they're really young, I'll tell them who their first key hire should be. I mean, young company, not young founders. And then sometimes it's per project. It's I need to get my first clinical trial going. Like, what do I need to do? Right. But I guess, like maybe I'll use an example of like good, like things I've done. I mean, sometimes you have to do like the Asian mom method of scaring people with a negative example, right? It's like, do you want to end up like that person? So like Whoop used to be a really good negative example, but then they fought the law and they actually won. So maybe they're
Right.
a bad example now. But you could say like you can point to like maybe more local examples like, hey, this company just folded because this, and this. These are the reasons why. For you to avoid that, here are some things we should consider. I think that helps. You could also do like the tough love way. There have been startups that will say things like, I can't afford your help. And I'll say, okay, well, I understand. And then once they came back, like one company came back a year later and they said, okay, we tried it ourselves and it failed. Like we will pay for you now. That felt
Right.
good.
I'm going to ask this as a overall question. Do you find that people take you more seriously, less seriously because you're a woman, because you're a person of color, or does that not change or taint how you are seen in the industry?
I think female person of color is actually not terrible in med tech right now in startups.
Okay.
Um, I think, okay, I do appear younger than I am, and then I am also like I'm a little weird. So I'm sure that works against me. But I think being an optimist, I actually think being Asian is in startups in Silicon Valley right now in digital health is good. It's not a bad thing. It doesn't work against you. It does seem right now in this climate, the race of like if you're Asian, I can't speak for other races. It seems like a very neutral thing if you're fundraising a digital health startup.
Interesting.
If you're making like a catheter, I think or like a stent, I think your age works against you more than your race.
Oh, interesting. Okay. This has nothing to do with anything we discussed, but if you as the founder don't contact me and like your mom contacts me,
Has that
you're
actually
an automatic
happened?
no. I hate to tell you this. Like it's just the fact that you didn't pick up the phone, you didn't email me, unless your mom knows me personally, and that's a different
Yeah.
discussion at that point. But if you didn't have the gall to go, I'm the chutzpah to
Yeah.
to reach out, that tells me something about you.
How often does that happen to you?
It's happened more than I
Really?
should.
Oh, wow. Wow. I have not had that, but this is going to sound incredibly ageist. I found with certain younger founders, they have really bad tempers when you poke too many holes in their plan, right? It's actually happened a few times. And it's usually a very young first-time founder who's straight out of school who, created something maybe in their grad school research, or it was probably like their thesis, and they want to spin out to a company. And it's maybe good technology, but the business plan isn't there.
Follow our page on LinkedIn.
Emily, how can people reach you if they have questions?
You can reach me on LinkedIn. I've added my husband's last name to my LinkedIn. So Emily Hu Shapiro. That's me.
There you go. So look for the Shapiro in there. Emily actually has a couple of books that she's actually published. Emily, tell us about the books.
I was a professional power lifter in my younger years. So I wrote a book about heuristics to exercise, eat well, stay in shape when you are an adult with a full-time job, right?
Uh-huh.
Book number 2 is about clinical research for non-medical products.
I'm excited to hear more about all this amazing stuff you continue to do.
All right, thank you.
Call, click, or email.